Welcome to Daily Dose Radio, a 5-minute devotional podcast studying the Psalms verse by verse. Broadcast from the ever-beautiful Sharonville, Ohio, on the sunny side of Cincinnati. Welcome back to Daily Dose Radio. This is your home for organic Bible study. It's underground, it's fresh, it's 5 minutes, and yes, it's delicious. Today we're looking at verses 22 through 24 in Psalm 109. Psalm 109 is that psalm that we've compared to the Passion of Christ. We've seen a little bit of the Passion. We're going to see more of it actually in the second half. The first half we saw at the beginning verses talking about the Passion. Judas was described in verse 8. Then we kind of went away from the Passion a little bit to talk about the children of Judas. And then the reason why the Lord judges those folks, we saw in the last 2 days a whole lot about the cursing that they do and how that's going to rebound onto them in a way that is not pleasant. But for the poor and needy man, whom the children of Judas or these cursers are persecuting, well, the poor and needy man is going to come back again today, and we're going to see what it means to be poor and needy. We have a very nice, tight little definition here of what that means. So let me read for you beginning in verse 22, and we'll read through verse 24. For I am poor and needy, and my heart is wounded within me. I am gone like the shadow when it declineth. I am tossed up and down as the locust. My knees are weak through fasting, and my flesh faileth of fatness. All right, so the poor and needy man here is described, and very nicely described for us. As I said, we have a nice tight definition. So let's just talk about the words, poor and needy. We've seen this before in the Psalms. I think I made a big deal about this back in Psalm 34. As a matter of fact, I'm sure I did, because that is the man that the Lord hears. Remember, this poor man cried, same word, same Hebrew word. This poor man cried, and the Lord heard him and delivered him out of all of his troubles. The poor man is the man who, with his heart, is humble before the Lord. So we look at this definition. It says, I am poor and needy, my heart is wounded within me. We're not talking about a pocketbook, okay? We're not talking about your expense account. We're not talking about what you own. Okay, now that's poor and needy, yes, but this definition is a spiritual one. A poor and needy man is the one who has a wounded heart. That is, his heart is humbled. It's wounded by the Spirit of God because he understands his condition. And his condition is, before the Lord, something that cannot stand except in the light of God's mercy. So the poor man understands his condition, and he understands the transitory nature of life. Notice verse 23. I am gone like the shadow when it declineth. Okay, you think about a shadow in the morning. The shadow is long. As the sun rises in the sky, the shadow retreats and retreats and retreats until at high noon there's no more shadow left, because the sun is peering straight down upon that object that casts the shadow. So as a shadow that declines, so I am. I'm just like that. My days are few. My time is short. Eventually, you're going to look around and you're not going to see a shadow anymore, and you're going to wonder, oh, where did the shadow go? Well, it declines. And so the poor man, he understands his condition. He has a humble heart. He understands the transitory nature of life. He says, I'm tossed up and down like the locust. So he understands that life is full of conditions of turmoil and upset. He says in verse 24, my knees are weak through fasting. Oh, so the poor and needy man is also a man who focuses on, and it's not just he's fasting because he's hungry, because he doesn't have any food, but I think it's fasting here because he understands the weakness of the flesh. And that's what's focused on in verse 24. My knees are weak through fasting. My flesh fainteth for fatness, or of fatness. So he understands the frailty of the flesh, he understands the transitory nature of life, and he understands his condition in the light of God's mercy. This is the poor and needy man. And the psalmist gives us this beautiful definition here in verses 20 through 24. Now, tomorrow, We're going to see how this now transitions into the Passion again with verses 25 through 27. I hope you'll join me then. I'll see you tomorrow on Daily Dose Radio. Thanks for listening to Daily Dose Radio. I'm David Smith. The music today has been performed by the Bluegrass Experiment. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you next time on Daily Dose Radio.